not be possessed by the devil. The true Christian is possessed by Jesus. However, in many true Christians, there are some areas where they are demonized, where they are afflicted and affected by demons. Areas in their lives and character where they are not themselves fully in control. And they are demonized, but not possessed by Satan. If we could just clear away that one obstacle of translation, we would be a lot further to seeing reality. All right. Now at evening, when the sun had set, they brought to him all who were sick and those who were demonized. And really, the New Testament hardly makes any distinction.
Snakes and demons.
And Jesus did not either. Almost invariably, he dealt with the sick and with the demonized in one overall operation. And the whole city was gathered together at the door. Then he healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. And he did not allow the demons to speak because they knew him. The King James and this version and various others use the word cast out demons. The translation I prefer is that of
as soon as I go live on the stream
uses the word expel.
the volume goes
Because that
down.
doesn't have a lot of religious connotation.
So you can tell it's been
Practical, down to
given
earth.
portrayed it
If
here.
you inhale smoke into your lungs, what do you do to get rid of it?
Shall
You
I?
expel it. It's an action of the will, but there's also a physical aspect to it.
We're controlling the cursor.
That's what I like to use. I don't always use it, but that, in my opinion, best represents. He expelled many demons.
See, we try and
Did
get
not allow the
the
demons to speak because they
volume.
knew him. And then I'd like to read one more verse in that chapter, verse 39. He was
They
preaching
do
in their
know these
synagogues
demons.
throughout all Galilee and casting out demons. Philip's translation says he continued throughout the whole of Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and expelling demons. I particularly like the fact that he uses the word continued, which represents a certain tense in Greek. He brings out the fact that this was not an isolated, dramatic instance that just took place
Training
in one
since
synagogue,
1938.
but that it was his regular practice in every synagogue to do two things: preach and expel demons. And he did it through the whole of Galilee. There must have been hundreds of synagogues in Galilee. You see, a lot of people got the attitude, well, perhaps every now and then there is a case where it's necessary to expel demons, but they're very rare and they're exceptional. And usually the attitude is that if there are such people, they're either in jails or mental institutions. Well, I simply have to point out to you that that was not the kind of person Jesus was dealing with. He was dealing with Orthodox Jews who met every Sunday in the synagogue and spent the rest of the week
He's been uploading
tilling their fields, fishing the
bookkeepers
sea, keeping their stores, and so on. They were basically normal, respectable, religious people, but they had what we could say certain hang-ups.
The frequencies are very high in
as I
this
say, where they were not in control of themselves. So do not get the impression that a person who needs deliverance must be either a criminal or a maniac. It's just the same kind of people that we deal mainly with today, not exclusively. Good, respectable, religious people who attend church, say the right things, but in their lives,
watch the time because
there's an area that's
sure
demonized, where they're not in control. It may be in their physical desires, maybe in their emotions, it may be in their mind. I'm going to deal with the various areas later. But if you can accept what I've said, it will clear away a whole lot of prejudices, which will keep you from being able to see this subject objectively.
It's all controlled.
It's a funny thing, but people in one nation can easily accept that people in another nation could need deliverance. I've dealt with this subject in Denmark. The Danes have no problem in believing that Americans need deliverance.
Automated
The Americans have no problem in believing Africans need deliverance. Well, I spent 8 years of my life in Africa, but I have to tell you, I never met so many demons in Africa as I've met in America.
Just make the feedback.
Cultural differences. They adapt themselves to their environment. All right.
Okay.
Let's look at one other picture of the ministry of Jesus, which is parallel. In fact, it describes the same incidents in Luke 4, verses 40 and 41.
It's one of those ones.
That's the same
Test outlet.
part of Jesus' ministry that's described in Mark 1.
Gotta get some.
Luke 4, 40 and 41. Now when the sun was setting, all those who had anyone sick with various diseases brought them to him. He laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. And demons also came out of many, crying out. We don't need to read more. See, the ministries of healing and deliverance were interwoven. They came because they were sick, but in many cases, their cure demanded the expelling of evil spirits. And notice Jesus laid his hands on every one of them. There used to be, I don't know whether there still is today, a Pentecostal tradition that is unscriptural to lay your hands on somebody who has an evil spirit. If that is so, then Jesus was unscriptural, and I'd rather follow his pattern than a tradition. Now, let's look on in Luke just to one other chapter, Luke 13. We find the woman who was bent double in Luke 13, verses 11 through 16. Another incident in another synagogue later on. Behold, there was a woman who had a spirit of infirmity 18 years and was bent over and could in no way raise herself up. Now notice, this was caused by a spirit of infirmity, an evil spirit that had doubled her body over so that she couldn't straighten herself up. When Jesus saw her, he called her to him and said to her, Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. Notice the word loose indicates binding. He said that in faith. Nothing had changed. Notice that. And he laid his hands on her. Notice she had a spirit of infirmity, but he laid his hands on her. And immediately she was made straight and glorified God. But the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath. And he said to the crowd, there are 6 days on which men ought to work. Therefore come and be healed on them and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him and said, Hypocrite, does not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his donkey from the stall and lead it away to water it? So ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, think of it, for 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath. She was a believing woman. She was a Jewess. She was a member of the synagogue. She had this terrible physical problem. Her back was bent over. It was not primarily a physical problem caused by a spirit of infirmity. And the moment the spirit of infirmity left her, she straightened up. Now that demands discernment, but I'm simply pointing out that some problems we would classify as physical are actually caused by evil spirits. Jesus also dealt with dumbness, deafness, and blindness as being caused by evil spirits, and in many cases his ministry to heal the people was to deliver them from the spirits that caused their dumbness, their deafness, and their blindness. Without going into details, I have to say I have seen parallel instances in my own ministry in each of those areas. Then we read on just a little further in Luke 13, verses 31 and 32. This is the last of our glimpses of the ministry of Jesus. On that very same day, some Pharisees came, saying to him, Get out and depart from here, for Herod wants to kill you. And he said to them, Go tell that fox, that's Herod, Behold, I cast out demons and perform cures today and tomorrow. The third day I shall be perfected. That's a Hebraism. Today, tomorrow, and the third day means from now on until the job is finished. So he said, I'm going to be doing 2 things. Casting out demons and performing cures. That's how he started, that's how he continued, and that's how he ended. His whole ministry, from beginning to end, included in it as a major part, probably 1/3 of his time, in healing the sick and casting out demons, and the 2 were so intertwined that it was really impossible to distinguish between them. Now, the next thing I want to say, which I will illustrate very briefly, is in the New Testament, no one was ever sent out to evangelize without first being commissioned to deal with evil spirits. There isn't an example in the New Testament. It is unscriptural to do that. Let's look at the first 12 disciples who were sent out. Matthew chapter 10, verse. When he had called his 12 disciples to him, he gave them power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease. Notice the first thing he did was to give them authority to deal with evil spirits. And then it says, missing out the list of the names, in verse 5, these 12 Jesus sent out. And then it says, we're missing out the irrelevant parts, verse 6 and 7, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, but don't merely preach, do something. What? Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. It was included in their equipment, and it was included in their commission. In Luke chapter 10, we read about a further 70 who were sent out. Luke chapter 10, verse 1.
As always, Richard.
Every city and place where he himself was about to go.
Also, with the themes that also so far, there's obviously electrical.
To verse 17, the report that 70 brought back. It says in verse 17,
And
then
first
the
services
70
turned over to
returned with joy, saying,
the left of the
even the demons were subject to us.
left street.
Impressed them most. They had authority over demons. They were not the 12.
It's
They
demonic
were
times we're living in.
And then we look at the final
Very demonic.
end of the gospel. First of all, in Mark,
These demonic entities out there, I tell you, are not going to get all these souls. It's not just in England, it's happening today in America as well.
go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes is baptized, is saved. He believes not, is condemned. Verse 17, and these signs will follow those who believe. What's the first sign?
How to identify the enemy, the basis of deliverance, Derek Price. This is demonic times we're living in. Yeah. So, it's 20 past 9. I've got to focus on getting something to it. 4th of July. They're calling it a massacre, and the numbers says it all. You do it by the numbers. 24 injured. 6 dead. The number's 4th of July. Okay. You know. You got the 4th of July. 2022. I'm sure someone's going to do a video about this. And Crown of England, you know, in history. Who went into America, right? And look at the civil wars, you know, North and South. And look at the massacre of the original origins of the settlers were, what, Native Americans? Indians? So, do your history. What's there to celebrate? It's, you know, it's the same with any man-made holiday. Look at, so, it's the same what I caught in the skies today. It's just, and then I'm gonna share what you don't, if people don't look up and realise what's above your head in the skies as well. You know, this radiation is pouring down on Earth, right? And it's affecting with the 5G, affecting in the weather manipulation, geoengineering, Dean Widdowson, Dean Rome Watch, right? This is a Cornwall webcam. It will be. I'm gonna get rid of this. This is a camera that's zoomed in on it. This is not a natural sunset. It's not a natural Excuse me. The whole sky. People holiday. The deliberate intention to cause a financial, crash and digitalisation of everything. And 13 bloodline families. I mean, I know that this is definitely demonic. Neuromonitoring, brain interface. I mean, educateyourself.org. Look at the history. Look at information that the majority of people are aware. But there's a majority of possessed entities. Possessed souls. Soul catchers. Soul catchers are real. I'm not perfect, but I wouldn't do other things as what's going on to others and to me by those that lost their souls. And you trespass, and do unlawful things to get away with it. And you call this a sun? Call a white? When was a sun white? What? I don't know if it will eventually get bloated, but does anyone look it up? Does anyone look up that white sun? And that pale, now it's pale light blue sky when there is one to see. And these man-made low-level clouds, because I'm not an expert in space weather, but CERN in Switzerland is going to be ramped up. So, ramped up even more tomorrow's date, 5th July 2022. And you've got advancement in technology with the computers, the robotics, and much more. They've been experimenting in human brain since the 1800s. And the trauma-based mind control technology and the psyops. Oh gosh. So yeah. There's a gentleman who's got an excellent channel called Bill Cooper. He's been downloading, uploading all the old stuff, which I used to listen to years ago in the late 90s. Oh, I knew, and powers that be put in my path today. And in a way, it's been a spiritual awakening. It's been a beautiful experience. It's really spiritual. All of this is so clear. So clear. You see, if you don't give your soul to the dark occultists, the darkness, the demonic side, they're after you. Their demonic possessed entities, I call it, are after souls to take down, with to possess them. And seeing the old neighbour, I haven't seen for over 13, maybe 14 years. 14 years. She's in her 70s now, she says. And to look at her, she's not the same. It's like she's been cloned. And her pictures about her. And at the time, she was a really nasty night witch. Really a witch. And the things she did, and I know now why all that was, why it happened and why it was, and who got my old house broken into, and the key words, I've got an audio evidence of this, what she said. She never comes into that shop ever that I go into. So I really didn't bother me. I really, everything that was in my way, in my path, put in front of me, and all the stuff, demonic things, I really didn't bother me. And what I come home Also, that video's uploading. That is psychological. And whatever happens from, again, I've had years of this, years, a long, long time, and so many other people are still, and I still am. And it doesn't bother me anymore. None of it does. You know, this is a spiritual, and I will be judged by my own creator. Jesus Christ died on the cross to save our sins, for our sins. And I don't believe in organised religion at all, especially the one I was raised into, but I do know the difference. You know, and it's like when you raise the vibrations, this is what they don't want. They don't want your vibrations raised, and I was absolutely struggling today. Physically struggling. There's sleep deprivation, being tortured, have my eyes been damaged, and I haven't been able to. I've got different things to use on my eyes at the moment with radiation. As soon as I come in, it's ramped up. Yeah. And now I'm about 20 miles away. Those lost souls who's died in the fire in a few flats on the river nearby, and some flats. I mean, and then they got massacre, people dying in America. You know, all of these things happening, symbolizing. You know, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. Life is precious, and if you can't forgive your enemies, if you can't forgive those that are doing these transgressions, you know, it is hard, even if it's your own family members. I know that. I know definitely. Certain family members of mine are doing really serious demonic things behind the scenes, plotting and scheming. Sad, really, because their souls are lost out. But I know my own flesh and blood that I gave birth to have just had to do what they're doing for their own survival, for their own, you know, children. Well, they're not children anymore, they're older now. But on my son's side, I know I was used by him for 2 years, well, more than that. But I know why. And, you know, at the end of the day, what is the, you know, is that the certain people at a certain age group have to do what they do to survive, don't they? And they very much want to get rid of Christianity, any spirituality, any kind of essence about the soul. They want to possess the soul. These are dark times. And light workers, spiritual workers, people with empaths, you know, who raise our vibrations, and they've got to caution. They've got to make you so traumatized and so, you know, lied about. And everything about your physical assistance is completely impossible to do. And this is what they're doing to me. No, it's not my fault. It's nothing I've done to anyone. It's what they've been told to do. And you don't get a remedy, of course, but you've got to be careful. I treat people, they treat me, but I tell you, these demonic individuals, there's certain ones, especially around here, I'm surrounded by it. You go and damage my bloody things on my wall, on my flat, and blame it on me. Well, I can't climb over a fence and rip something off a wall. Nobody in the whole area, and even the perpetrators, you know, it's so deep and dark. But this is just one area. We're talking about the world, aren't we? The Earth, Mother Earth. Luciferian now. The darker colours. Saw one lady today with a pram. You don't know. You don't know they really are their children. You don't know if they've actually come from the underground dumps and they've been instructed to be a mother, to try to be that mother. You just don't know. There's so much that's been hidden. But at that point, this is not the natural sun setting. Right, TI News Walk. Let's have a look at what he's doing. Will.
Let's say it's fucking locked. Oh, fine. It's fucked up.
Why are you putting your tongue out, Will?
Yeah, it's fucked up, dude. Okay.
Shifting demons, just one of them. No disrespect, but he is clear. Watch your body language. Watch the neck.
Okay.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah, it's fucked up, dude. Yeah, it's fucked up, dude. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Let's say it's fucking locked, dude. Oh. Fuck. It's fucked up.
There you go. The tongue again. I'm not going to show that. I do like the beach though. Anyway, it's up to the individual to learn more. What do I know? And try this out.
In my name they will cast out demons. He did not send them out without first making sure that they knew how to deal with demons. And in Matthew 28, the other version of the Great Commission, verses 19 and 20, he says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you, and lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the end." He told them to teach their disciples everything he taught them. And one of the main things he taught them was how to deal with evil. He said, when you make disciples, you teach them what I've told you, and when they make disciples, they're to teach those disciples what they have been taught. And he says, I'm with you to the end of the age. He made no provision for that cross to change. He envisaged the same thing going on from the time he left to the time he came back. That's his program. The tragedy is the church departed from it. They have not improved upon it. They can't. They've simply made a disaster out of it. Now, there's only one person in the New Testament, other than Jesus, who is called an evangelist. Only one. I've counted 28 persons called apostles, but only one person called an evangelist. Isn't that remarkable? We don't hesitate to dub the title on his evangelist. Anybody who isn't a pastor in the contemporary church has to be an evangelist. There are only two options, basically. Who was the evangelist? Who can tell us? Philip. Now, his ministry is described in Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8, verse 5. Then Philip went down to the city of Samaria and preached Christ to them. Philip's message was very simple. It's a one-word message. Samaria, you preach Christ. On the road to Gaza, you preach Jesus. All right. And the multitudes with one accord heeded the things spoken by Philip, because he had a well-organized committee and a choir. No. Hearing and seeing the miracles which he did. What was the first? Unclean spirits crying with a loud voice came out of many who were demonized. Many who were paralyzed and lame were healed. Notice the first thing in his ministry, and an event, was driving out evil spirits. So I'm suggesting to you that both the pattern and the commission of Jesus leave no room for the servants of God today to go out in evangelism without first being equipped to deal with evil spirits. I don't believe you can find an example there. Now I'm going to give you some general teaching on the nature of demons. We'll stick with the word demons. And ways in which you can know if they're at work in you or in others. Of course, there's always the two gifts of discerning of spirits and the word of knowledge. But apart from that, the supernatural realm, there are many, many other combined indications which should alert us to the presence of demons, either in ourselves or in others. You need to know, first of all, as I've said, they are persons without bodies. You're dealing with persons. Disembodied persons who have a passionate craving to get into a body. You need to understand. They are totally discontented outside of a body. The kind of body they want is a human body, but rather than be disembodied, they'll settle for a pig or a dog or other animals. They do not want to be disembodied. That is torment for them. They have two main objectives assigned to them by Satan. Number one, to keep you from knowing Christ as Savior. But if they fail in that, their number two objective is to keep you from serving Christ effectively. See that? If they failed in number one, they don't give up. They simply switch to number two. Now we need to distinguish between the flesh and demons. The flesh being the old carnal nature, the old man. Demons being persons that move in, occupy areas of your personality. I compare them this way. The flesh is the carcass. The demons are the vultures that settle on the carcass. Understand? If there were no flesh, there'd be no vultures. A very vivid picture. You've lived in a country where there are vultures. You know when something is about to die, a little speck appears up in the sky and hovers there, and you look up a little while later, there are 3 or 4 more, and the nearer the animal on the earth gets to death, the lower down the vultures. Jesus said, where the carcass is, the vultures will be gathered together. Where the unregenerate flesh of man is exposed in its carnality and its sinfulness, you can be sure the vultures will be gathered. Now, the remedies are totally different. What's the remedy for the flesh? The cross. The cross. Galatians 5:24, they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh with the affections of life. What's the remedy for demons? To expel them. That's right. Now, you cannot switch the remedy. You cannot expel the flesh, and you cannot crucify a demon. So in order to know which remedy to apply, you have to know what you're dealing with. Okay? Now I would say in general, if you are a committed, sincere Christian who reads your Bible, prays, has regular fellowship, and desires to serve the Lord, and you have a special kind of problem, something tormenting, something aggravating, something humiliating, something binding and enslaving, and you've tried every remedy, you've prayed, you've fasted, you've reckoned yourself dead, and you still haven't resolved it, you can be almost sure you're dealing with a demon. I can say this out of experience, which is too long for me to relate this point. Now, what I want to do in the next part of this session is give you some characteristics activities of demons. I'm going to list about 9 verbs which describe characteristic activities of demons. If these are present in your life, more than one, or if they're very intense, you should begin to check. You probably need deliverance. And bear in mind, all these are activities of persons because we're dealing with persons without bodies. First verb, entice. Demons entice. They tempt people to do evil. And if you analyze your experience, you'll find that enticement often comes in a verbal form. A beautiful gold pencil has been dropped on the floor and you stand looking at it. Something says to you, take it. Nobody will know. Other people would do the same. If it was your pencil, they'd take it. You know what that is? Anything that has a voice is a person. Behind that voice is a demon. None of you have experienced. It's just me. Demons harass. What happens in what part of the world you come from? They study you. They follow your movements. They know your weak moments. They know your weak places. They know just how and when to get in. The example I usually give is the businessman who's had a terrible day in the office. Everything went wrong. His secretary was inefficient. The air conditioning failed. And then on the way home, there was a traffic jam, and he was an hour on the freeway. And then when he gets back home, believe it or not, his wife is late for the supper, and the kids are running around screaming. And as he gets in through the door, he does what we say, he blows his stack. Okay? You know what happens? That demon of anger that's been on his tail all day. And after that, his wife notices a certain change. He's still a loving father and husband, but there are certain times when something else takes over. She notices a kind of different look in his eyes, and although he loves his wife and his children, he makes life miserable. Then he's so ashamed and remorseful afterwards, he said, I don't know what made me do it. We do know. The demon of anger. Number 3, they torment. Now, the Bible speaks about the tormentors. In Matthew 18, I believe the demons are the tormentors. In Matthew 18, in the parable of the unforgiving servant, the servant who wouldn't forgive his fellow servant of petty debt was delivered by God to the tormentors. I have met hundreds of Christians in the hands of the tormentors. You know why? Unforgiveness. If you have any unforgiveness in your heart against anybody, you are a legitimate target for the tormentors. And Satan is a legal expert. He knows when he's entitled to move in. There are various forms of torment. There's physical torment. There's the example I would choose is arthritis. When you look at arthritis, you've seen the devil in action. Twisting, torturing, crippling, binding. Mental torment, one that's unusually common, is the fear of going insane. You'd be surprised how many Christians are inwardly fighting this battle. It goes like this. Well, your aunt died in a mental institution and your grandfather went the same way and you're going to be the next. And you can hardly imagine the torment there is in such a mind. Then there's spiritual torment. And the example I would give is the accusation that you've committed the unforgivable sin. Now, if you are concerned about having committed the unforgivable sin, you haven't committed it, you understand? Because the people who have committed it are not the least bit concerned. So that's not your problem. Your problem is a lying, accusing spirit, which is taking away your peace and the assurance of your salvation. All right, number 4, they compel. I think there is no more distinctive word than the word compulsive. Almost anything compulsive also be demonic. Compulsive smoking, compulsive consumption of alcohol, but let's not stop there. Compulsive eating is just as demonic. Gluttony is just as much of a problem as alcohol, but it's a respectable. You can't be an alcoholic in church, but you can be a glutton. There are other forms of compulsion. Compulsive thought, garrulity. People who can't stop talking have got a problem. And they are a problem too. Number 5, demons enslave. Very close. You see, let's say you've committed a sin in the area of sex. You repent, you go to Jesus, receive forgiveness and cleansing, you're justified, just as if you've never sinned. That's all finished. But if, after all that, you still have this intense drive to commit the same sin again, even though you hate it, you're enslaved. One very common example is masturbation. Now, some psychologists and people say masturbating is all right, it's healthy. I just don't even argue about that. But I know there are thousands of people who do it and hate themselves for doing it. Every time they say never again, but it never works. They are enslaved. They're in the demon of masturbation. Very common. Let me tell you now, before we get too far in the meeting, it has certain specific manifestations. What will happen is the person's fingers will begin to tingle. I've had so many people, what's the matter with me? My fingers are tingling. Sometimes they go stiff, but they bend right back. And I just whisper in their ear, the problem is masturbation. Renounce it, claim the cleansing blood of Jesus to get rid of it. But it's very stubborn. Many times people have to actually shake it out of their fingers in the name of Jesus to get rid of it. Now you put 4 and 5 together. 4 plus 5 equals addiction. Okay, compulsive, enslaving, you put them together, they're addiction. We are all familiar with many forms of addiction. Some are very unusual. My first wife and I dealt with a young woman, a Pentecostal church member, who was addicted to nail varnish. She just wanted to smell nail varnish. She told us, when I walk into the cosmetics department of a store, I've got 2 options. I can either buy nail varnish or run out of the store. I got to do one or the other. When she was delivered to that thing, it came out screaming and it tore her. There are other addictions. You know, the commonest and latest is TV. TV is just as much an addiction as alcohol with many people. They cannot walk into the room with the television set without switching it on. They don't even think. They don't know what they're going to see, but they just have to reach for the television set just like an alcoholic reaches for sugar. And I think probably it does more harm in the long run than alcohol. Number 6, they defile. They make you feel dirty and unclean, especially when you're worshiping God. You're just about to get into the presence of God, and this dirty image or this filthy word is projected into your mind. Anything that rises up when you're about to worship God and opposes you is almost certainly demonic. Or when you want to read your Bible. One common example is the demon of sleep. You know, the Bible speaks about a spirit of slumber. Have you ever noticed people that they want to read their Bible at 10 p.m., they're asleep by 10:15? That they want to watch television, they stay awake till after midnight. Now that's not natural. There's a supernatural force there that enjoys them watching television, hates them reading their Bible. All right, number 7. They deceive. They are the deceiver. I believe basically all forms of spiritual deception are demonic. Do you know what opens the door to deception? Pride. I doubt whether there's ever any deception that doesn't come in through the doorway of pride. Pride inevitably leads to deception. Number 8, they weaken or tired. There's a demon of tiredness. I was dealing with a woman once. She said, I can't stand this section any longer. I'm too tired. I was about to get sorry for her, and I realized it was a demon. I challenged it. I said, that's right, she's always tired. She's tired when she gets up. She's tired when she goes to bed. Too tired to pray. Too tired to read the Bible. That's one of the ones that the others hide behind. Or they kill. Remember, Satan is a murderer. He kills people physically. And there's a spirit of death that he sends out to kill people. All right, now if we're going to take one word to sum up, it would be the word rest. Demonized people are usually resting in some area. The person who can truly relax, deep peace, probably doesn't. All right, now I'd appreciate a ministry from some active person who would clean off the board so that I don't have to spend time with them. Do we have a volunteer? Thank you very much. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to deal with, and I think this will be the last, although I wish I could go further because we haven't much time, is the areas of residence. Proverbs 25:28 says, thank you very much. Proverbs 25:28 says this: whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. So that compares the inner nature of human personality to a city. And when the person has no spiritual defenses, that city is open to almost any evil spirit that wants to come in. You take a drug addict, that's his description. Anything can get into him because the walls are broken down. But in a city, there are a lot of different areas. There's the area where the wealthy live, there's the slum areas, there's the banking and commerce areas, there's the sports areas, there's the various ethnic areas. I used to live in Chicago. You know, the areas where it's all Poles, all Swedes, all Jews, and so on. And so, inside you and me, there is a city with various areas with characteristic residents in each area. You understand? I'm going to give you a little list of the areas. I'm not a professional psychologist. This is simply based on years of experience. The first area, number one, the main one, is emotions and attitude. And I put in parenthesis, gang. Because there are gangs of the demon. And each one opens the way for the next. If you meet one, you should start searching for the other. Now, my personal opinion is behind every negative emotion and attitude, there is an evil spirit. Anger, fear, loneliness, misery, self-pity, pride, jealousy. That's a tremendous one. Now, the fact that you experience anger doesn't necessarily mean you have a demon of anger. But if your anger falls into the category of those verbs that we've discussed, then you probably have a demon of anger. There are certain root problems out of which the rest grow. I think the greatest single root problem is rejection. And rejection leads to a whole series of loneliness, misery, self-pity, depression, despair. And when you got that far, you're headed one or other of two ways. Death, if it's passive, suicide, if it's active. I don't believe anybody ever committed suicide except under the influence of an evil spirit. That's my personal opinion. I can't prove it. Another very typical problem is rebellion, which leads to resentment, to hatred, to anger, to violence, and, produces the typical gang leader, and so on. Number two is the mind. In a way, the mind is the battlefield. Characteristic spirits that affect the mind are doubt, unbelief, confusion, indecision, insanity. And I've discovered that people who've been in the occult almost always have a problem with confusion. Depression, you can call it either emotional or mental. Doesn't matter what it's there. The next area is the tongue. There are a lot of characteristic demons of the tongue. The main one is lying. The Bible speaks about a lying spirit. There are people who are compulsive liars. They don't even know when they're lying. I had a friend like that, the president of the Full Gospel Businessmen University. He was also characteristically a failure. He was a fine Christian, a wonderful talker. He'd sit in our living room and start to talk, and his talk would get more and more interesting, but improbable. And my head would begin to swim. I'm thinking, does he believe what he's saying? Do I believe what I'm saying? What he's saying? But it just kind of flowed out of the natural into the supernatural. Now, you know the reason? I discovered how that came in. He was an adopted son of wealthy parents. They had no other children. All their eggs were in that one basket. They wanted him to be everything. He discovered that when he came home with his grades from school, when they registered disappointingly, they decided that one word lied about. And we encourage progress by that attitude. I would say every form of compulsive sexual aberration is demonic, without exception. Masturbation, adultery, fornication, homosexuality, lesbianism, femininity, and all sorts of horrid perversions. I would say every one of those. Now, you don't have to be ashamed. You do need to resolve the problem. Number 5. Lust. Now, we could have included sex under that heading, but it's such a distinctive area we kept it separate. Perverted desire. I believe all appetites initially were healthy.
Wow.
But by sin and demonic power, they've been perverted, become unhealthy at this point. 1 John 2:16 speaks about the lust of the flesh, lust of the eye. There is demonic power.
I'm just going to pause it. Pause
Men have
this.
to look at women in a special way.
11 o'clock.
They're absolutely incapable.
A huge planet
Demons.
against a growing YouTube channel.
I've said already, gluttony is a very clear
Just a
example.
moment to see what is this. Yes, here is the negative. You can see this. All these black dots are representing something. So this is one here. Just a moment.
Okay,
Not
this
well.
is.
This.
I'm going to pause this. I'll watch this later. There's so much warnings going on. Right, so huge planet within the. No, where's he seen it? I'm gonna go back. This is Get to Growing YouTube channel.
I'm transfer this channel to Croatian language channel because the people from Croatia from time to time will have some live event which will be here on the Croatian language due to some local events. Dakle, ovdje ću ponekad držati isključivo večeri uživo na hrvatskom jeziku, ali kada to bude potrebe, a onaj drugi dio ćemo držati na engleskom jeziku. Tako, vidjeli ste svi što se jučer dogodilo, išao sam uživo i skinuo. I hit the string, the right string. What I discovered, obviously, it was make very nervous some people on the YouTube or behind the YouTube, and they immediately take down my video, claiming that I am showing some contradiction medical hypothesis whatsoever, but this is not the truth because I did not say anything about anything except I just warn you that this it's not a fake disease, that this is the right, this is disease that this is only shows me very, very well that I hit the right string. Dakle, to što sam jučer pokazao na live eventu, samo je dokaz da sam pogodio u srce događanja i da something with my telephone, and I'm going to show you that in the following minutes of this live event. I will not take much of your time, and also in the same time, on the same direction, there was a big storm with the hail, and on the southeast from me, and many cars were broken, and also the cells on the roof were broken. Dakle, u isto vrijeme kad sam uhvatio ovaj vektor svojim planetama na jugoistoku, u Lici je bilo jako nevrijeme, ima slomnih stakla na automobilima, šajbi, polupanih crijepova, temperature of the storm, and interesting, exactly on this position, there was a vector with two huge planets and a bit smaller revolving planets that are going around this big object. So, what is the time? Let me see. Okay, 59. We can go to watch the first pictures, and let me share the screen just a moment. So this is the southeast. What you see here, this is a big vector here. Just a moment, I will show you that. And I will also add it inside the vector here. You will see that on the following. Ću to pokazati kako to izgleda. Ovako, to je znači ovdje gdje sam to znao. correctorate or correctorate, here in this all the year, maybe even of the written capital letter, even with the title. So
Okay, so I won't go into all. One can go and see. Igor, this is his channel he's streaming off. And that is what you need to look for if you want to go and see what he's found again. So he's using his backup channel. It's similar to Against the Grain. He's the same. That's what he uses. Igor, I-G-O-R. Okay. So let me just, I'll go and watch on later. Queen Bess, let's have a look at Scotland by the camera, see what it's doing now. If anything. Wow. Wow. This is, oh my gosh, that's very blue. What's the time now? Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Well, is the sun already set? Yeah, in England at 9:30. It's meant to get done. There's so much going on, I can't even see. Leaked White House plan for what? Big warning. So that's Scotland weather cam. Not your natural sunset. Okay, right, let's go into my channel. Let's check. Let's see. Let's have a look. This is what I was playing. This is very important to Derek Prince. Right. Let me just double check I'm playing both. No, right, so bear with us. Just mute that. I'll catch up with that later. Let's go into my own. You can tell more is getting monitored. And times. Oh, hello, Tony. How are you? You're into Tuesday already. Oh, hello, Tony. How are you? You're into... Just get rid of these pop-ups. So much going on in the world. Hi, Tony. Just get rid of that pop-up. You see how they keep hacking me. Right. How are you? Let's get rid of that. How's the weather for you? Okay. She's not disappeared. Right. So. Yeah. And I don't know who Anonymous is. Let's have a quick nose. What American?
let's jump right in. This is a big warning that I want to share with you at the end of this video, and it could be ugly, but I believe you deserve to know what's really going on, so stick with me. The Biden administration has now officially missed their own deadline to outline proposed oil lease sales over the next 5 years. Initially, the Interior Department announced they were on track to release the 5-year plan by Thursday, but have declined to comment since missing the deadline. Republican Senate Energy member John Barrasso said in an interview Biden has failed to follow the law and prepare a final 5-year leasing plan by yesterday's deadline. That means the federal government will not offer any new offshore oil and gas lease sales. This is the first time in nearly 65 years this hasn't happened, which is causing some to wonder if missing the date was on purpose to avoid giving help to the oil and gas companies. So in 65 years, they've never missed the lease sales in these 5-year plans, and they just missed it. And so there's no new oil and gas offshore leasings that will happen for the rest of this year. The Supreme Court has just delivered a hard hit to Biden's green agenda. The majority ruled that Democrats overreached regarding placing regulation to cut carbon emission. The case was based on a disagreement regarding an interpretation of the 1970 Clean Air Act. In a nutshell, the Supreme Court ruled that the US EPA did not have the authority to shift power generation from one method to another that they deem is better for the environment. This will make it harder for Biden to transition the United States into a green country, as it gives fossil fuel energy providers less of an incentive to transition over to clean energy. However, some argue that green energy will continue to get cheaper, which could naturally cause oil companies to shift in order to compete in the marketplace. But this would be true capitalism, where money flows to the best ideas, not by something being forced. Now, the Federal Reserve is currently holding on to over $2.3 trillion in cash.
What?
This is an issue because the Federal now owes 5% interest on this money, which accounts for $141 million of interest daily. Foreign and domestic banks store their cash at the Federal Reserve, which has been deemed as an easy profit that would generate them 5% in interest each. However, this is not cheap because this adds up over time and the Federal Reserve doesn't know what to do. So here's what this means. The dollar has gotten much stronger in the last 90 days, as the Fed has been raising interest rates. This makes other countries that are struggling seek safety in the United States dollar, so they go out and they buy bonds and treasury bills, etc. However, it then puts a burden on the United States Central Bank to deploy that capital wisely right now. With everything going down and the stock market being volatile, and there being a lot of uncertainty, they have $2.3 trillion that they don't know where to put safely and wisely, and so they're stuck paying $141 million every single day until they figure out where to put this money. What happens is over time is this will weaken the dollar and other countries' faith in the US dollar and the United States banking system, and then they could pull all of that money out and collapse the dollar. So this really is kind of a scary situation to find ourselves in. Again, we're the best looking in an ugly contest, but things are still really ugly, and now the dollar is so strong that it's inviting all of this new capital that they don't know what to do with. President Biden recently attended a 2-day NATO summit where he pledged an additional $800 million to Ukraine. This announcement came one day after the United Kingdom announced $1 billion for Ukraine in a statement. Biden declared that Putin thought he could break the transatlantic alliance. He tried to weaken. He expected our resolve to fracture, but he's getting exactly what he did not want. The new package includes offensive weapons, which is a new addition to what we have previously already sent the West as united forces to ensure Putin fails. But do you think that Russia feels like they're winning or losing the war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, Russia has retaliated by saying, if they are provoked into world weary, their first move will be to take out satellites, and their next move will be to destroy London with hypersonic missiles that can travel.
My goodness. Be careful out there. This is be careful who you pass the message on. Just be aware of background checks if you can, if you know your way around the internet. So it won't be out for long, the satellites, and also be aware of satellite phones. But also, I've got to focus on my own spirituality here as well. There is demonic. There's too much of things happening at once now. Okay, focusing and never take your ball off this. CERN is attempting to break the power records, right? And is very close to that date for me anyway, a couple of hours away. So anything can happen. They're playing with the natural order of the planet Earth, spirituality. They're playing, it's like the rituals. If anyone's seen these videos and things that's gone out about the rituals they did over in Switzerland, I believe it was Switzerland, and so it's all witchcraft. It is Luciferian, and educate yourself to just go and do some digging and research, because advancement technology is already here. They just want to open the portals to bring in more of a demonic soul captures. That's the way I put it. Yeah. There's so much distractions as well. So, in my opinion, it's very hard, obviously. You got loads of things to focus on, a couple of things, you know, and you get BS on your doorstep and the pressure, and I already know, when you know about business and finance and commerce, and originally, you know, if you got your food, I mean, I was going to invest in something, but lots depends on certain things at the moment. Army style, it's another camping type stove that you don't need gas, oil, that kind of thing, you know, but you can't use it indoors for safety reasons. Life straws, radiation. What I was looking for was radiation tablets you can get. I mean, rations. It's a bit like going a theory, you know, you can make your own, which, I mean, it's been a while since I've redone that. The backpack, ready to go pack. I mean, so I have certain things, but I really need to reorganize that. And apply a proof, you know, or like I've got a list, I need to refine that. 72-hour emergency pack list. Anything could happen. So, although in England, in my area, we're not on we don't have earthquakes and things like that, but you just don't know these days, anything could happen. So in that video, I'll just go back. Yes, he's done it. Antichrist confirmed. Oh, that's brilliant. He's very good in breaking down the numbers. So again, there's a lot of people. This is wonderful, actually, because it's, in a spiritual point of view, a lot of people are clued up, are catching on. It's like well, it's a spiritual awakening. It really is a spiritual awakening. Okay, I'll go back to just playing while I'm. This is, just take it pinch of salt, and if people are preppers and you know what's already going on. Okay, so I'm now going to diverse back. Good day, good day, good day. Tanya's not there, she's disappeared, bless her. Okay. Right, so I'm now going to try and find live weather Scotland cam. Because that's what I'm going to do. Well, I guess I'm doing it. Before it gets too late for me. Right. This is not a natural sunset. Absolutely not. The comets, the pink comets, is on the other. It's over the river. Oh, where is it? Right, the comets is right now, and it's showing up pink is over the river. This one. This is where it is. Left hand side of the screen. See all the pink reflection on the water. And see the very light blue skies. No. What the hell is that? That disappeared. As soon as I saw it. It's not my camera. It's not. It's reappeared. Right, there's a white object. Now they're trying to use the camouflage. Oh my gosh, they're trying to hide it. Oh, they got a tiny little camera and they're pixing it out. There's another one. Just at the right hand side. Oh, the objects are coming through. They're all coming through. 1, 2, 3. Oh, deception in the sky. Look how it's lit up on the left hand side as well. This is red. This is red and pink. And look at the colour blue. This is demonic. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. So I don't know if against a grain might be actually monitoring these cameras and taking screenshots in this computer mathematical models. But this is not your natural sunset. Timestamp. Look at that. Oh my gosh. It's already, the sun isn't meant to already gone down. So why is it still blue? Light blue, Project Bluebeam. Go and research educateyourself.org if you care to, and you can look into that, what Project Bluebeam is about and why. But a grey patch, they're trying to mess about with their own camera to get rid of this mark. It's not mine. No, it's not my computer either. Just there. Be aware of any false flag events claiming to be alien or spaceships or whatever. I can see what they're trying to do now. These dark objects, they're trying to cover them up. But this is completely out of character. Now it's not as pink. This is an iron oxide. Okay, you got 1, 2, 3 strokes of like. If anybody else thinks this is like, you know, spaceships, whatever, be my guest. Don't forget, man-made. educate yourself to all. It's man-made. Okay, they're covering up the other item. Right, this tiny little white objects. They're trying to cover up the cloud. It's just popping. It's very small in the sky. 1, 2. But these are 1, 2, 3 are moving across the skies. Don't forget the history of man-made objects, claimed to be spaceships, claimed to be aliens, can be also advancement technology, be man-made technology, and played off as like we have alien invasions, scaremonger, put the fear in the souls of men and women on the earth. So I'll go back to the other one now. Just observations. Think what you want. Just sharing opinion. Now I'll go back to this one. Right, here we go. This is definitely, let me just pause it. So you've got the red comet effects. It's a tiny object right there. These are the man-made clouds, the grey in the horizon. That white, okay, is not meant, it's not the natural sunset, okay, because the timestamp officially in England, the mainstream weather forecast has already gone down at 9:30. It's 10:30, an hour on now. So all the pale blue still above and below in between. There's toxicity here. You want to make, you know, I've got no words to describe it, but I know what I'm looking at, but it's up to the individual to suss it out for themselves. So you can see the light, this white is not, you don't get a sun that's white. The natural sun is yellow. So you've got the white object, and it's making it very, very light above. These toxic clouds, you know, it's so spread out. I mean, how much chemicals do they need to spray and have that iron oxide effects? That is going to, if you breathe that in, I mean, I don't know if my video is uploaded yet, but yeah, trying to detox and you're breathing all this in into the lungs. And then you've got 5G radiation effects on top of into the body. You know, you want to look into the side effects of radiation or how that impacts the body, you know. Up to you. So this all may or may not go bright red, which I've caught before. So I'm not going to come off. And I'll just leave that sharing. Well, as you can see, there's people watching it. I'll just leave that as this one. Wow. My gosh, look at that. That's a massive comet. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've never seen it so big in a long time. Oh my gosh, I'm shattered just by bloody watching. Oh my lord. Wow, it's interesting times we're living in. This is a new brew. You know, the comets in the skies. New brew. Wormwood. Wormwood. I can't speak now. Radiation is so strong. Oh, 10 to 11. Oh, gosh. Wow. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. Well, I'm just going to keep that as it is. Right, notice this cloud now moving, trying to cover that. It's either going to go west, sorry, yeah, to my west. It's going to go move across, sorry, to my right, I should say. See how many people are looking at it. It shows 5 people are watching it. They can't hide the truth. Look at that skyline. Let me just note this. Notice this cloud now moving. I'm trying to cover the right. So they're going to go west, sorry. Yeah, to my west. Oh my, what a time to be Okay. Skyline at the bottom. These man-made clouds. It might just merge together. So, here you go.
Some people say are kind of extreme, and I totally agree with you on that. And there are also TIs that are just more, not as, considered TI.
Yeah, like you, I have to give you credit, and I don't give a lot of people credit, but you really impressed me when you went out in the crowd like that. I mean, you were doing things I wouldn't even do. And I'm not a TI, and I'm not a big fan of crowds in general. So seeing you get right up into the grill of other people, my wig came off my head and ran away.
Are you talking about his video in San Francisco, California?
Yeah, it was awesome. I thought it was great.
Okay.
I don't think, yeah.
I could share with you real, irrefutable video evidence of my experience in public, and you tell me that it's coincidence when it happens through multiple cities, through multiple states.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys know this, and this.
Right, there's a bloody troll. He's such an idiot in America. I'll cover that webcam anyway. That's Scotland. Right? So, this is obviously a demonic troll from early hours of the morning. I will never, and I just heard from somebody on a different platform not to trust this individual. So, for education purposes only, I will show you who he is. He's a nasty, might be computer literate, but roundtable discussion, he calls it. Listen to what I said. Not promoting this channel.
And not all TIs are the same. And
No, I know.
I agree with you on some TIs are just too extreme. The stuff they say are kind of extreme, and I totally agree with you on that. But then there are also TIs that are just more, they're not as, those type of TI.
Yeah, like you, I have to give you credit, and I don't give a lot of people credit, but you really impressed me when you went up in the crowd like that. I mean, you were doing things I wouldn't even do. And I'm not a TI, and I'm not a big fan of crowds in general. So seeing you get right up into the grill of other people, my wig came off my head and ran away.
Are you talking about his video in San Francisco, California?
Yeah, it was awesome. I thought it was great.
Okay.
I don't think, yeah.
I could share with you real, irrefutable video evidence of my experience in public, and you tell me that it's coincidence when it happens through multiple cities, through multiple states.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys know this, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to come on here, is I don't know if you guys understand that you're being studied. Do you know what I mean?
Of course,
Yeah.
I bloody
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So actual science, not Fox News, not CNN, not just some amateurs down the street. Real researchers are actually studying gang stalking now. And there's been the first paper, I downloaded all the papers. I have all the papers right on my hard drive, and I was going through them and I was highlighting things. And
educateyourself.org. I don't know if I can find that website. I'm not going to waste my time in them. There's somebody else that downloads people's videos. It's just always, it's very demonic. Let me see if I can show them I ain't gonna talk, I'm just gonna see what I can share. These demons trying to get in. Reptilian shape-shifting demons. You don't bloody realise it's his problem. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Try again. The military, my labs. If I went to town with them, if I had the energy, I would have bloody torn them apart. But I wouldn't do that on a public platform. The military abductions is not by aliens, it's by the Black Ops funded in such a way for so long. And I have so many recordings of how they do it, and this is a blog. I'll share this blog first. In 2 hours streaming, I won't be that much longer because CERN and what happened in Switzerland is witchcraft. Trying to bloody well. Anyway, so you don't believe the shape-shifting demons exist at the above the ORIONMindproject.com/MyLabs MILABS, and it's one individual's experiences about mnemonic mind control, army technology transmit voices into someone's head. I think one needs to look at that. That guy claims to read these documents really and think individuals who are lawfully targeted make it all up really. So the document below describes the lethal, non-lethal weapons. A declassified document, so he hasn't read the documents. A series of technologies that the military have developed, including one with the ability to transfer radio frequencies, energy, into a human target. The energy perceived by the brain as sounds inside the target's head. I don't get that. I get the radiation and microwaves. Also, it says microwaves absorbed by the target's body. Now, this technology is already being proven. Now, the capability of carrying modulated frequencies that sound like recognized speech to the recipient. If fully developed, such a technology could be a powerful tool for good, it says in the article, by silently transmit messages to hostages, for example, surrounded by captures, or for evil. By driving an unwittingly man or woman insane with voices into his head or hers. And has the US government ever used it or anywhere else in the world? The document was declassified 2006. Freedom of information requirement, according to an Army document. Now, the application of the microwave hearing technology could facilitate a private message transmission. It may be used to provide or destructive condition to the individual, but not aware of the technology. Not only might it be destructive to the sense of hearing, it could be psychologically devastating if one suddenly heard voices within one's head. Let me just get into the document. Wikipedia, you can even find this. The microwave effect, known as microwave hearing, consists of the human perception of, and it goes into Wikipedia, radar. World War II, 1961, American neuroscientist Alan H. Bray studied the phenomena and was the first to publish information, nature of the microwave auditory effect, and the cause is thought to be expansion of the portions of the auditory ears, that is, I would assume, throughout compelling theories explaining the results of. So if we go back to see, there's actually a direct link to the document. Yeah, here you go. Don't know if I can zoom in. Might be able to. There you go. So this was dated let's have a look. It goes into one individual's experiences. A man was Aaron Alice, is it? He went on a rampage weeks after his report to the police about microwave messages. In the wake of his destruction, investigators found 2 transcripts in the wooden stock of his shotgun. One was "Better off this way", the other was "My ELF". The meaning of these crypto messages remains unclear, but some have speculated and one may be related to document claims of being harassed or radio frequency manipulation. It's extremely low frequency, the ELMF. I hear it all the bloody time in my ears. Refers to someone portraying, and it does penetrate the brain. The microwave, I'm not sure about messages, I don't get the VGK. And I'm not a violent individual. But the frequency technology and beams and Jews and all the other manipulation around the individual, you've got the perpetrators that might have their own miniature versions and beaming their frequencies into your home as well. So this is just one article this website linked to. Let's get off that. The miniature abductions NK Ultra. Okay, well that won't work. So let's have a look. The mind control book. Let's see if that works. Well, I don't want me to look at that. The Monarch Project. So, a brief history of control. Now, the definition, descriptions, alters and triggers, bloodlines and twinning, levels of Monarch programming, and methods, components, programmers and places, and this is off the similar website that I got streaming. But let me just have a quick look. The circus acts of the gullible populace through a multitude of manipulated mediums lies one of the most diabolical portrayed upon a segment of life, the human race, a form of mind control, which has premeditated every aspect of society for almost 50 years. Objectively abstain, the following one may be re-examined or perceived ideologies relating to the dualistic nature of mankind. Resolving the question of whether we are inherently good or inherently evil is in shaping our perception of reality. Specifically, the spiritual variable within the equation of life. Resolving this I can't pronounce words now. Question of whether we are inherently good or evil is well, I would just read that sentence. The expansion is I can't pronounce these long words, by declassified USA government documents individually formally conducted in the US intelligence communities. Historic writings, research notable in mind control, publications on mind health practitioners, and interviews from survivors unwittingly subjected to a high complex form of trauma-based mind control, known as demonic programming. And that's what I'm part of. The world of caution for survivors of intensely somatic mind control or some form of ritualized abuse. There are numerous triggers in the article. So, disclaimer, basically. So, it's well known as demonic programming. A brief history. The mystery religions of ancient Egypt, Greece, India, and Babylon, helped by the foundation of occultism, meaning hidden knowledge. One of the earliest writings given reference to the occultism is Egyptian Book of the Dead, a combination of rituals explicitly describing methods of torture and intimidation to create trauma. The use of the potions, i.e. drugs, in brackets, and the casting of spells, hypnotism, ultimately resulting in the total enslavement of the inmate. Point 1. There has been the main ingredients for a part of occultism known as Satanism throughout the ages. During the 13th century, the Roman Catholic Church increased and solidified its domain, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, throughout Europe. Within famous inquisitions, and Satanism survived of this period of persecution, deeply entrancing itself under the veil of various esoteric groups. 1976, a Bavarian Jesuit by the name of Adam Wolswit, I think it's pronounced as, was commissioned by the House of Rothschilds to centralize the power base of the mystery religions into what is commonly known as the Illuminati, meaning enlightened ones. This was the powerful occult bloodlines, elite societies, influential Masonic fraternities with the desire to construct the framework for New World Order. The outward goal of the Utopia, or Utopia, was to bring forth a universal happiness to the human race. However, that underlying intention was to gradually increase control over the masses, becoming masters of the planet. The Anglo Alliance. By the 19th century, Great Britain and Germany was recognised as the primary geographic areas of Illuminati control. It then should be of little surprise to know the first work in behavioural sciences research was established in England. Told you they were doing all this a long time ago. I'll get a drink. Definitely won't be that much longer. When all this is set up. Bloody things. So, established in England 1882, it's much of the early medical history and psychiatric, I think the word is. Their frequencies are strong right now, so bear with me. Techniques involved mind control were pioneered at the Kissinger K-A-I, I think it's S-C-R-W-I-H-E-L-M Institute in Germany. And this is where I was referred to in England also. The Tavistock Institute. Nasty pieces of work set me up going there. Oh, this radiation is really bad. Okay. The article goes on. The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations was set up in London in 1921 to study the breaking point for humans. I mean, you know, when I look back to what happened to me in 2002, was I selected from a young age or that period to be a test subject for this program? This article goes on. To study the human breaking point, Kirk Lewis, a German psychologist, became the director of Tavistock Institute in 1932. About the same time, the Nazi Germany was increasing its research in neuropsychology and multiple generation occultism. So my mother went through the ritual horrific things that she went through as a child. My brothers and sisters and I, though, this is all what they used to do in the past. And it hasn't changed. Well, more modernised, yeah. Increasingly, a progressive exchange of scientific ideas were taking place between England and Germany, most nobly in the field of eugenics. The movement devoted to improving of the human species through the control of hereditary factors in marketing, I think it's pronounced as MATTING, and other big words I can't pronounce because the frequencies are affecting the vibrations are affecting me, so I've got to turn a lot of things off in a minute because the less electric stuff I have on, the better. Now, the union between the two countries were bonded, partly through the Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society which consists of many high-ranking officials in the Nazi Party and British aristocracy. Top SS Nazi officers, and it quotes which one, and I can't pronounce it, was in charge of a scientific project called, and I can't pronounce that either, which included selective breeding and adoption of children, particularly a large number of twins among them. The purpose of the program was to create a super race who would have total alliance to the cause of the Third Reich, New World Order. Much of the primary experimentations concerning genetic engineering and behaviour modification was conducted by Dr. Joseph Mengele, and I can't pronounce that word in Germany, where the coldly analysing the effects of trauma bonding, eye colouring and twinning among its victims. Besides interior surgery experiments performed in concentration camps, some of the children were subjected to massive amounts of electronic shock. Sadly, many of them did not survive the brutality, and that's illegal, that's unlawful, horrendous that is. Really is. Concurrently, brainwashing was carried out on inmates in a place called DACHAU, who were placed under hypnosis and given the hallucinogenic drug, and it quotes which one. During the war, parallel behaviour research was led by Dr. George Brooks, a college Crowgate University. His involvement with the Army, the CIT, and FBI, other agencies remained shrouded in secrecy. However, S.T. Brooks, I think it's pronounced as, would occasionally slip and discuss his work. Creation of hypno-programmed carriers induced split personalities. After World War II, the US Department of Defense secretly imported many of the top German Nazis and Italian fascist scientists and spies into the United States by South America and the Vatican. The code name for this operation was Project Paperclip. One of the more prominent fields of the US was the German general, and it quotes which one it was, the chief of the intelligence against Russia. Upon arriving in Washington, D.C. in 1945, the GEHEM met extensively with President Truman and General William. Now, Wild Bill Doe, I can't pronounce his words, Director of the Strategic Services OSS, and Alan Giles would later become the head of the CIA. The objective of their brainstorming sessions was to recognize the normal American intelligence operation transforming into a highly effective covert organization, and their efforts produced the Central Intelligence Group in 1947. Excuse me. CIA 1947. Now, Richard also profound influence in helping to create the National Security Council, which the National Security Act 1947 was delivered. The particular piece of their statute law upon implemented to protect unconscionable number of illegal government activities, including class and time control programs. So the Project MKUltra, with the CIA National Security Council firmly established, the first in series of covert brain program washing was initiated by the Navy in the fall of 1947. So Project Chatter was developed in response to the sovereign's, Russia's successors through the use of truth drugs. Now the rationale, however, was simply to cover the story. If the program were to be exposed, the research focused on the identification, testing of such drugs for use in interrogation and recruitment of agents. The project was officially terminated in 1953. Now, the CIA decided to expand their efforts in the area of behavior modification with the Project Bluebird, approved by their director in 1950. So its objectives were to discover a means of conditioning personnel to prevent unauthorized extraction of information from them by means, investigate the possibility of control of an individual, the application of special interrogation techniques. Now, the investigation memory enhancement established defensive means for preventing hostile control of agency personnel in 1951. Now, the Project Bluebird was renamed Project Anacoke, which effective uses interrogation techniques, including hypnosis and drugs. The program ceased in 1956. 3 years prior to the halt of that project, Project MKUltra came into existence in April the 13th, 1953. Along these lines by Richard Hames, Deputy Director of CIA, or DDCI, was the rationale for establishing a special funding mechanism but extreme sensitivity. Now the NK more possibly stands for mind nodule. And bear with me because the radiation is really strong on my head and my eyes. So anyway, I'm not going to read it all. This gives you the background. The NK Ultra and the experimentations, the projects, harassment, devices they used then, a period of time. And where does the butterfly? Now this is where I know I'm part of it, because when I got robbed 2018 on my 8 months brooch, I was sent by my brother a very necklace type brooch that my mother never ever had and never wore. It was of a butterfly. It wasn't a real gold brooch or a necklace combined. And that's to let me know that I'm in that program. Yeah, because the one I got stolen of me was of a tiger, beautiful brooch. But I looked at all my old photographs of my late mum. She never had such a brooch in the first place. It was a major setup. And my brother specialised in NLP anyway. Sick man. Anyway. I'm just cutting through a lot of this. Some of the ancient mystical groups, and it quotes which they are, and one of them saw the butterfly as a symbol of a corrupt flesh, the angel of death. Remember, MENGELE in GOS in TIC, artworks was portrayed as crushing the butterfly. Now, I can't quote these long words right now, so you just have to cut through it. A puppet that is attached to strings and is controlled by a puppet master, hence a mnemonic program, is also referred to the MARONETTE syndrome. Imperial conditioning is another term, while some mental health therapists know it as conditioned stimuli response sequences. It's quite a mouthful. Project Monarch could be the best described as a form of structured disassociation. You see? Why did they put a label on me for disassociation? Because of the trauma of what I experienced in 2002, and the Met Police in London, UK, referred me there. The Imperial College, well, it wasn't called that then. The Tavistock. I didn't even know all this history then. I didn't know none of this then. I just thought they meant to help people that suffer trauma from the horrific crime I experienced, and the effects, you know. So this is where, years on, I now know it was just stage. I mean, how far-fetched could that be? So I found old paperwork anyway, and everything links up. Everything links together. So it's not separate. So yeah, don't know why they picked me, but anyway. I got quite a few people I know who were so sick and demonic that put me into this and set me up with this. But I won't mention who here. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting about the butterfly part and the mnemonic and especially with the disassociation and the occult, and it's like the cultism and the interrogation in order to mentalize, the mind into multiple personalities. Well, I don't have that. I don't have that split personalities. I don't have that at all. Mine is trauma based. The personalities that goes here with a particular framework during the process. A satanic ritual usually includes a I have to pronounce this word, CABALISIC, and then MYSTICASM. It's performed with the purpose of attaching. Oh, no way. You're joking me. You can't believe this. That man who attacked me was very well possessed. He was a demonic entity. I never forget those eyes. He was definitely possessed. And I'm just reading a paragraph here. So, during the process, a satanic ritual usually includes and performed with the purpose of attaching a particular demon or group of demons to the corresponding altar, of course, and most skeptics would view this as simply a means to enhance the trauma within the victim, and negatively any, believe that demonic possession actually occurs. So they constantly want me to have a negative, a constant life of trauma. And this is where everything's going on in my life. Getting run over, getting my old house broken into, repetitive patterns of trauma. It's all been by design. And I'm not, the trigger points, the key trigger words I use. This is what I'm coming to, altars and triggers. Another way of examining the victimization of body and soul is by looking at it as a complex computer program. Created through trauma repetition. Yeah. Constant repeats of trauma experiences. And that's what I've had. Well, I still do. So to set me up to get me robbed, to every practical things I've discussed before, it's all part of this. It's trauma ritual abuse, isn't it? Very demonic. Let me go through briefly. And it needs to be reinforced. In order to activate a trigger, the file specific access code or word, password, or command is required. The victim survivor is called a slave by the program handlers, who in turn is perceived as a master or guard. Entertain what? No. I'll reread that. Who's perceived as master or guard. About 75% are female, since they produce a higher tolerance of pain and tend to disassociate easier than males. Subjects are usually mainly for operations, prostitution, pornography. What? involvement in the entertainment industry, is noble. A former military officer connected to the DLA told this writer, "In the big picture for the people, monarch victims are in all walks of life, from the bum on the street to the white-collar guy." In corroboration, a retired CIA agent boldly discussed the uses of such personnel to be used as plants or claim alarms for purpose of infiltrating a designated group of gathering information or injecting their agendas. Wow. There are incoordinate amounts of alters in the victim survivor with numerous backup programs, minors and shadows, a division of light side, good and dark side. Bad alters are interwoven into the mind and rotate on an axis, one of the main initial structures of which there are many. Just bear with me. Within the system is shaped like double hexagon, consisting of several layers. Each system has internal programmer which oversees the gatekeepers, demons, which grant or deny entry into different rooms. A view of internal images seen by victim survivors of trees, Kabbalistics, the tree of life, with adjoining roots, systems, loops, ancient symbols, letters, spider webs, mirrors, glass, shattering, masks, castles, maze, demons, monsters, aliens, seashells, butterfly, snakes, ribbon, bows, flowers, hourglasses, clocks, robots, chain of command diagrams, computer circuitry boards. Wow. Majority of victim survivors come from a multiple generational satanic families, bloodlines, and are programmed to feel the destiny as the chosen ones or chosen generation, a term coined by, well, going back to bloody Germany again. Some are adopted out to families of similar origin. Others used in this neurological nightmare are deemed to be the expendable ones, really, non-bloodlines. Usually come from orphanages, foster care homes, indigenous families, a long history of paedophilia. Wow. And there also appears to be a pattern of family members affiliated with government or military intelligence agencies. Yeah. My mother, bless her heart, what she went through. Oh, and here's the next one. Many of the abused come from families who use Catholicism, Mormonism, and that's not my family. My mother was targeted by the Mormons to be members. A characteristic Christianity as a front for their activities. Through members of other religious groups are also involved. Blinking heck. Victim survivors generally respond more readily to rigid religious hierarchy structure because it parallels their base program. Authority usually goes unchallenged as their will has been SURPED through the subjective and command-oriented conditioning. Physical identification characters of victims survivors include multiple electrical pod scars. Really? Or moles on their skin. Wow. I wondered where those come from. What the heck? Many have had various parts of their bodies mutilated by knives, branding irons, needles, butterfly or occult tattoos are also common. Generally, bloodliners are less likely to have the subsequent markings, as their skin is to remain pure and unblemished. The ultimate purpose of the sophisticated manipulation of these individuals may sound unrealistic, depending upon the interpretation and understanding of the physical or spiritual realms. The deepest, darkest altars within bloodlines are portrayed to be dominant under the within the bloodline purported to be dominant until the Antichrist is revealed. The New World Order altars supposedly contain callback orders and instructions to train and infiltrate a large influx of people, possibly clones of soulless ones, therefore stimulating social control programs into the new millennia. Non-biological twinning is yet another bizarre feature observed within the mother-mangler connection. They essentially share two halves of the program information and making them independent upon each other. Paranoia phenomena such as astral projection, telepathy, ESP, appear to be more pronounced between those who have undergone the process. My gosh. Levels of mnemonic programming. The LAPHA regarded a general regular programming with base control personality characteristic by extremely pronounced memory retention, along with the subsequently increased physical strength and visual ACURIT programming is established through deliberately subdividing the victim's personality, which causes a left brain to right brain or division, allowing for the program union of the left and right through neuron pathway stimulation. Delta. Referred to as sexual programming. Programming eliminates all learnt moral or convictions, stimulates the sexual instinct, devoid of inhibitions. Can't pronounce that word. Cat altars may come out at this level. Delta. This is known as a killer programming. Originally developed for training special agents, elite soldiers, and other forces, First Earth, Button, Mosaic, etc., and covert operations. Output controlled aggression. Subjects are default to fear, very symptomatic in carrying out their assignments. Self-destruct or suicide instructions are layered in that level. Threat. Considered to be the psychic programming. Bloodliners, those coming from multiple generational of satanic families, who deem to split a greater prosperity for having telepathic abilities than that non-bloodlines due to the relevant illuminous. However, various forms of electronic mind control systems were developed and introduced, mainly biomedical human telepathy devices, brain implants, direct energy lasers. This is what I get, using lasers, microwaves, electronic magnet fields. It is reported these are used in conjunction with very high advanced computers. Sophisticated satellite tracking systems, I thought so. Omega A, self-destructive form of programming as a code green. Corresponding behaviors include suicidal tendencies and self-mutilation. I don't have that. This program is generally activated when the victim survivor begins therapy or interrogation, and too much memory is being recovered. The Gamma, Gamma, another form of system protection is through deception programming, which is explicit misinformation, misdirection, and this level entwined and tends to renegade itself at later time, apparently activated. So really, I'm in the I'm in the there's something in my bloodline. My female bloodline in connection with my father's bloodline. I don't know much about his bloodline though. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. So it goes into a hell of a lot about how they do this monitored programming, conditioning the victim, of the mind enhancement and the coercion. This is very detailed. Goes into use of Wizard of Oz. Oh my gosh. Goes into recent Disney. Goes how they use that for kids. Oh my god, this is not good reading. This is not. So you've got involvement here with 33 higher degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And you got connections, how it relates to well-known Disney programs and films. Goes in a lot more about that part. Illuminati structured M and D systems to Wallow Tree represents the occult powers and dualism. Druids. Oh my gosh, I know about some things of that. The branches are used to whip victims and rituals or cleansing processes. A willow tree can endure severe weather i.e. storms, and is known for its... Oh my gosh. This is basically... Oh wow, I haven't seen this website in ages. www.hale.to/b/Barton, Patton, is where this article is. It's military. It's all military. Started off. I'm going to end this stream. I might come back to this subject in another time. But in the meantime, listen to this. This guy don't think all this is real.
I found that the first actual published paper, peer-reviewed published scientific paper on gang stalking came out in 2015. And since then, there's been about 7 papers. And each one is detrimental to your case. They all say that you have persecutory delusions. None of them point. And see, scientists actually want to get to the truth of how things work and how the universe works.
Okay, so you know what? Everyone understands what a peer-reviewed journal is, right?
Yeah, right.
Because that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about somebody that wrote a book. He's talking about peer-reviewed articles. I went to college for 10.
I never said it was 100%.
That's what I thought.
And what you said, Nerve, that's just kind of connect.
But not just England. And also, have you obviously studied the fraternities, the Freemasonry, the Illuminati? The facts are out there. And when you look at why, for example, you say there is the psychological studies, because of the history into examination of the human brain back in the 1800s and why they began that, and the advancement of technology here are to take you into science about this cloning, the cloning of the sheep, the technology, AI, and look at advancement where we are.
Well, you're jumping
now.
around. Can I answer your first question?
Sure.
Yeah. I obviously, I'm not ignorant to the fallibility of humans and the corruption potentiality that we can have whenever we do anything. But the thing about science is it tries to find the answer to things. There is no objection in these papers that I looked at, in all references I looked at, there's no objection to single stalking. You know what that is? There's 2 versions of stalking so far in the literature.
His conversation on a paper we didn't read.
I'll send it to you.
We don't care. We don't care about your paper.
Big shocker.
Take it and wipe my
Big
fucking
shocker.
ass with it.
You know, lady, I really think that...
One of the links he's referenced to is this demonic possession, early modern France, demon possession and the ritual of exorcism, both of which possessing itself came to seem. And it goes into growing evidence of demonic possession. What should Sakar's responses be? And a book called Demonic Possession in Early Modern England. He's made some links to. So they use sorcery. Demonic possession, a mental disorder in medieval, early modern Europe. It's reference to demonic possession. He's just done a Google search, so let's go back to his other links. Alright. Paper published. Let's have a look. Taylor and Francis Online. Deliverance, demonic possession, and mental illness. Some considerations of mental health professions. 2012. Abstract. So, when you look at the history of the Rothschilds, they trained, they created, allegedly, you know, the big pharmaceutical corporations to obviously go along with the DSM manual. If you research how the DSM manual for psychiatry came about initially, you might want to go into that. This abstract claims, you can see what it says. Treatment for mental illness, the exorcisms or deliverance of ritual used by, and it quotes who. Deliverance beliefs or practices are based upon the assumption that both mental and physical illnesses result from possessions of the sufferer by demons. I disagree with the latter. I didn't get run over. I didn't get possessed to get run over. I got hit by a bloody car. And the police did nothing. Got evidence and all that stuff. Goes on, it says, and are treated by the expulsion of these demons. Now, I wouldn't dismiss that people naturally have emotions in them, but also I'm aware of different people's belief systems in spirituality. So whether it's for the dark occult and culticism or whatever, you know. I'm pretty aware of that from my upbringing. Now, deliberate practitioners claim to treat schizophrenia, ADHD. Now, the hyperactiveness, it comes, you know, people born with overactive imaginations and hyperactiveness, it can be opposite too. Just personality. It doesn't say it's a disorder or an illness. And because these problems are related to sins, they claim it's related to sins. I mean, as a child, you know, or as an individual, you've sustained things happen to you, and you haven't gone out to go and do things to cause anything like that. How can that be a sin? So I would disagree with that sentence. Either of the individual in treatment or of an assessor. Well, I wouldn't be too surprised if I knew about my father's bloodline. And apparently he's from Jamaica, and I don't know the bloodline history. Were they into witchcraft? Was there a natural way of practicing their belief systems all those years ago? I really don't know. Goes on to clinicians, counsellors dealing with clients who partially exposes deliverance beliefs may need to understand their worldviews, discuss their beliefs before managing to engage. Well, you have to be careful, I know that. You really do need to be careful about perceptions, because the program can make you get like that. And that's where the credibility, disinformation of your character, which they love to do. Let me just mute this minute because it's not the one I want. But the patterns are real, the technology is real. I know that, unfortunately. I'll just check how many I've been on it. Okay, that's enough now. So let me just go back where I was. Yeah. So he's basing on some information, but not really. He hasn't really researched it. The PDF file. Let's have a look down. Nobody is crazy. Not when you research this. Super soldier target individual. I think it's important also to look at super soldier talk, transhumanism, you know, and yes, witchcraft in disguise in the church. Derek, the late pastor, he passed away now. Derek Prince is very, very. I've listened to quite a few of his podcasts, and people's been reposting his information up, but he's quite intriguing on that. So let me just see if there's anyone coming up winning. So this guy just get people into his. He has no clue what goes on really. Let me just go down a bit. I'll stop sharing from that.
The hot spot on your world. Yeah, he's a nice guy. How your mama know? But smile, look at the eyes. Got well, just get on the making me crazy, but I'll be taking it.
Not playing that because it's showing shape shifting, but it's got some other stuff that I don't show. Okay. Well, anyway, this origins of MK Ultra Wanted program. It's worth a really proper read through another time. The Egyptian Masonic Satanic Connection, 1992. Operation Mind Control Flatland, 1994 document. Mind Control and the American Government, Prevailing Winds Research. Secret Agendas. There's endnotes to all these articles. At the bottom of it, I'll leave this on a positive note. Although there has been some progress in deprogramming and therapies, a much greater problem needs to be refined. I can't pronounce that. The Holy Bible addresses this problem in the fragmentation of the soul. I think it's Ecclesiastes, E-E-Z-E-K-I-E-L. Is it chapter 13 verses 20? A spiritual restoration is what is truly needed. Yes, I agree with that. I think it's Psalms chapter 23 verses 3. Yeah. But can only take place by completely trusting in Jesus Christ as the way to salvation. That is true. Now that's John chapter 3 verses 16, and Peter chapter 3 verses 18, and deliverance from demonic possession. Mark chapter 16 verses 17. True humility of Christ and the love of God effectively counters pride and hatred of Satan. Satanically, the road to recovery of these survivors and imaginable depravity to a long, tedious one, but God is the ultimate healer, and only within His time, through His strength, by His grace, can the captives be set free. Isaiah chapter 61 verses 4. And this is where I have these recordings, and I'm hearing these demonic entities, and I won't go into specifics, but it's not pleasant. And I'm waking up with my eyes past 2 nights like really bruised and swollen, and really bad head. So I don't know what the hell that's about, because I've got medical aids, but I don't bang myself in the head and nobody assaults me. When I'm consciously awake, I don't remember anything like that happening. When I play the audio back, I can hear me literally screaming out in pain. In my subconscious, subconscious state, dream state, I can hear myself calling out in pain, and I'm having deep conversations, and I have no clue. And since I can remember, I'll make some diary entries, diary notes. But I know my attack all those years ago was definitely possessed. So anyway, I'm trying to heal and move on. And the more they do things to me, the more that I keep putting my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. He died upon the cross. And that's what my channel's about. It's on the road to healing from this program I've been put in without consent. So, and then also covering subjects of Hebrew and Moonwood. Bloodlines, we covered that. Noble names. Now, Kathy O'Brien is really a good way to actually investigate this. I think that's really a good way. How she got out of it. And there's all footnotes on these documents. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to say good night, good day. I have to keep going.